Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. We are social beings. So we crave relationships, we crave connection, and it goes without saying, but we need to say it. You want to have great relationships with people, whether it's a romantic relationship, business, you have friendships. How do you create those healthy relationships? We're going to talk about that today. She is actually going to provide us with some guidelines, which comes out of one of her amazing books, and that is Love Yourself, Love Your Life. She's a psychotherapist, has enlightened all of us many times about relationships, and we're going to go deeper today. Dr. Ann Creekmore is back with us. How are you doing today?
Great, Steve. How are you?
Doing very well, and intrigued by these guidelines that you provide at the end of the chapter. By the way, this is chapter 7 in your book. I would love to go through these and kind of dissect them and get a little more detail.
Absolutely.
In no particular order, I'm just going to kind of rifle through these.
Okay.
Guidelines for healthy relationships. This one says, choose healthy people to be involved with. Hands-on caretaking, providers, people who are empathetic, listeners, not toxic people with whom you feel bad when you associate with them. You know, kind of rhetorical there, but how do you find those people? How do you don't know somebody's toxic until you're engaged in, a situation with them, whether it's a relationship, whatever it might be. You can hear from people, stay away from them. They're always negative. Yeah. But that's somebody's perception. It might be totally different when you connect with them. True. So, what's your guidelines there for choosing those people?
Well, like you mentioned, there are two types of people that people can't do everything, well. They may be better at being the hands-on, caregiving provider. They'd be willing to help you out, do something, when they hear you have trouble or something, they're going to, or just those distress, are going to help you out and do something to help you. That would be one kind. Then others might be more the empathic listener, they listen to you and then and have empathy for your situation and maybe build you up or encourage you. You feel better after you talk with them. You might not expect, say that the person has to do both, but they should show some sort of empathic, caring towards you. Versus someone that, whenever you get together with them, then you start to feel bad about yourself, sort of criticized and not accepted. And that's not someone that you want to hang out with, And then also they say, you are who your friends are. If your friends are engaged in some negative activities, then they're going to want to do those. And eventually it's possible you'll get drawn into some of that. And you don't want to pick a toxic person either that makes you feel bad about yourself, is critical or competitive with you, and or someone that may be doing things that aren't wholesome that you'd start doing and getting involved with doing.
It seems like you're going to know that they have a certain empathy for you, that maybe they ask certain questions, they care how you feel, maybe at that moment, or maybe you've got things going on, and they're asking those questions as opposed to just talking about themselves and their situation, right?
Correct. Yes. And they accept you. If you say no, you can't do something, they don't make you feel bad and try to make you do something you don't want to do. They kind of accept you where you are. You say you're sick and you can't go out. They don't tell you off, Right. They're empathic. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, not feeling well. I hope you, there's anything I can do to help, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's as if you feel that they truly care about you.
Exactly.
All right, we're gonna move on to the next guideline for healthy relationships. This one is like a minefield, I feel. Marry well. Make sure the person does not have a mental disorder. You need to have at least 3 love connections romantic chemistry, best friend or parenting connection, and religious or spiritual or life philosophy similarities. Whoa, there's a lot
Yeah.
going on there.
That's a pretty tall order, isn't it? I mean, when you say for somebody to not have, I mean, and I know I wrote that. I mean, so I have to take that, own that. But I mean, it sounds so strict even when I hear it, but it's the ideal. The ideal would be that you find someone that cares about you and can be a caring, empathic person, like in number one, the one you just gave about being empathic listener or being able to do things to help you and so on, and be accepting of you and make you feel better after you're with them. But these others are a little bit tall order because somebody could say, well, no mental disorder. I mean, like everybody's got some stuff. Somebody has some anxiety or somebody has, gets depressed or, I mean, I think the idea would be that they're a person that maybe has had some therapy, that has some understanding of what their, mental health issues are. They're
Hmm.
willing to work on their mental health issues and have gotten some help, and not somebody who would be in denial of a problem that they have. And then you just get the brunt of it, that they're never willing to work on anything in themselves is maybe a little more accurate. But ideally, if you be a whole fulfilled person and you've worked on yourself, any disorders, if you, so to speak, that you have, and you find someone who's done that as well, then, that would be not,
Oh yeah, that would be a unicorn.
yes, that would be a unicorn. We're searching for the unicorn.
Yeah.
And what was the other part of it?
Well, the three connections. So one of them
Yes,
is, well, have at least three love connections and romantic chemistry. All right, kind of goes without saying. You want that there
right.
if
That's
you're
the
engaged.
initial attraction, usually. Yes.
Exactly. Um, them being your best friend or having a parenting connection.
A co-parenting one, yes, kind of
Yeah.
like you're devoted to like you were to your child. If you're somebody who's hurt or in a crisis, you'd be there for them like you would with your child. Mhm.
And then religious or spiritual or life philosophy similarities. So a lot of these seem, the romantic and the chemistry got that one. Um, you should always marry your best friend. Okay.
Yeah, really,
Um,
yes.
and I
Most
guess life philosophy, how you look at life, how, you're on the same page in different situations.
right.
Um, but it seems like that can be there in the early part of the relationship or, in years in, but then you could realize, wait a minute, this person isn't that, or they reveal something about them that you never even knew. Um,
Sure.
yeah, yeah, and been in those situations. Like it's you never know. I guess you never know.
Right. I mean, it makes sense to wait and really get to know the person. I mean, I think people probably get engaged a lot of times in a year, and maybe that would be even maybe okay to get engaged if you have a year out, another year to kind of really make sure you know the person. Um, because things can come up that you don't, and sometimes less, until you live with somebody, you might not even know certain things that
Mm,
that they would how they would be like. So to have some time together, weekends or whatever, to see what's really going on and how they,
sure.
if you're in a kind of a living situation of some kind. Um, but the three connections is kind of like the love of life, or they call it the soulmate connection. And most marriages technically really don't fulfill but maybe two of them. And they can be satisfying. I mean, a lot of them, they be kind of the best friendship. And you want to go both ways. You don't want to be like the mother or father to the other person, and they don't really feel that reciprocity, towards you. That's only a half a connection. You want them to feel looking out for you, and you want to be looking out for them as best friends.
Mm,
And romantic chemistry, you want to have it both ways. You don't want one person to be attracted to you, but the other person's not. That's still not a full connection. But a lot of marriages are just based on those two, and they don't necessarily explore the third one, the religious, spiritual, life philosophy, connection. But that connection adds to the deep communication, and it also adds to your emotional, spiritual, if you will, growth. Because if you're both on the same page of life and you're talking about things at a higher level, more transcendental level beyond everyday stuff, you can really enhance each other to grow emotionally and, psychologically. You're going to a deep level and you're able to think about things about life at a higher level that raises you up. So that one's really important. And sometimes couples have gotten together and had all three, but then they get elderly, maybe libido's down, and they're not into the romantic. But then if you had that other life philosophy connection, you're still able to function as a unit, be happy with the two connections. You got you're older and you caretake each other, and then you're at a deeper level, talking deeply about life and growing together still. So that one makes it great for it being super long lasting, even into old age, if you will, years when maybe the romantic attraction won't be so much priority.
So I want you to think about this question, and I need an answer. This is not scientific. This is just a ballpark feeling based on your experience and observations. But marriages that fail, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being they usually fail because one or both of the people involved have things from their childhood that presented during the marriage. Maybe they were aware of them, maybe they weren't, maybe one partner had no idea that this popped up. Situations, and we talked about those traumas before. They could be big, they could be small. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being every marriage that fails is usually connected to something from within childhood that presented in adult years. Where would you put that?
7.
Not scientific. I get it. This is, we're not holding Ann Creekmore to this. This is just probably put it around a insert number.
How about this? 7.5.
I'm good with that.
I mean, but what you have to know too,
Go ahead.
but other things impact as well. But I would say that the triggers, the baggage people bring into the relationship would be a part of it. I wouldn't say the 7.5 is the total cause, because there's others. But yes. I would say that will, because it's so important to get therapy or personal growth, groups or just things that help you get insight into yourself. And so that's another one to look for when you're trying to marry well, somebody who's actually done some self-discovery, has some insight, gets some help.
Which is a rarity. Let's be honest. It's
there
changing.
You go. That's why 7.5, because they have had enough, they don't know, and they have to get in, they got to have marital problems and kind of butt heads. And then that motivates them to go into therapy, and all of a sudden they're becoming aware of all the stuff they brought in and things they need to heal. But it gets them there for healing, and hopefully it's not too late that they felt like they've hurt each other too much that they can't be together at that point. They can work on these. In fact, one form of therapy, I think I've mentioned it before, imago therapy, a couples therapy, kind of postulates that people actually come together around a wound they've had from their childhood. Like, not only do they come for the connections but also the wound is similar, but they may take an opposite stances to the wound. Like, they both may have, alcoholic parents, for example, and they may have a different way of handling it, but they both wanted to heal that, that wound unconsciously. They're not all aware of it, which would fit into the 7.5 that I said, that I made up, that that those are things that would end up needing to be healed, and they're trying to heal them, but it's not conscious enough without the extra help to be able to do so.
Thank you for I didn't mean to put you on a limb there, but
I'm teasing with you too.
Thank you for that. And yes. Based on my observations, experience, etc., I completely agree with you. And many times when couples, and again, this is me just observing and
Uh-huh.
adding it all up.
Yes.
Many times when couples are having challenges and they go to therapy, it's basically surface stuff. It's let's talk about what's troubling you in the relationship, what's troubling you in the relationship, and you kind of air it out and everything. Usually, it doesn't go deep into what got these two people in therapy in the first place. And many times, both people aren't on board. They're just kind of going through the motions. But my point
Right.
here is
It
you're
is.
not doing a deep dive into really what caused the issue in the relationship or that person's life in general. And the marriage is part of their life. Um,
Absolutely.
I think that people should go through therapy before they engage in a long-term relationship, marriage or not.
Right. Absolutely. Right. That's so important to do that self discovery and that healing.
Oh,
It does help to do it within a relationship too,
mm,
because like say you're working on, you've never, one person has learned to, be an externalizer to a dysfunctional family and they just, the best defense is a good offense. And so they're kind of verbally critical. And then the other one learned to be like passive and like just to keep things low and codependently. And that makes a little match too. You got one who goes along and one is telling the other one, but it's not healing the wound that they didn't get their needs met. Um, and so if they got the insight into, there's a good book called Children of Emotionally Immature Parents that kind of helps you heal that. I mean, you can get self-help books. That would be a good one to kind of look at a person's issues, and see how that would pan out, and how you could work on yourself so that you wouldn't do that kind of polarizing or that that wrong connecting, if
hmm
you will.
So let's move to one of the other guidelines for healthy relationships, and I'm just randomly picking these out, no
Sure.
particular order. Ooh, this one. Hmm. Have zero expectations. Your relationships are not the source of your happiness. You need to fulfill yourself. Wake up. That's a wake up call right there. That's a pivotal moment.
Right, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yes, and in my book, The Love Yourself, Love Your Life, which covers all the different kind of main forms of therapy with a chapter for each. There's one called the Whole Fulfilled Person Model of Recovery. It can be starting for, say, addiction of some kind, or codependency, or just mental preoccupation with whatever is that could be interfering with you putting your energy into caring for yourself. But
Hmm.
ideally, you before you get in a relationship, you put the energy into yourself, mind, body, spirit, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, your will, responsibility, all put your energy to taking care of yourself and if you will, reparenting yourself to see that your needs and rights are being met. Your lifestyle is such that you have time to care for your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, in your doing your creative expression. Um, your so that you come into the relationship as a whole fulfilled person to begin with, and
Yep.
then made up with someone who's on that same page where they've taken care of themselves, because life has challenges, right? So sometimes your partner may be sick, and they are not able to help. What does that mean? Your whole world goes down because of that? No, you take, you're able to keep your satisfaction up and care for your own self. Sometimes one person is up, in life, something bad happened at work for one, and the other one's okay, and then you can be there for the other person. Versus if you're just starting with an empty cup looking to be filled by the other person constantly, that's just not going to be able to happen.
Mm. And you don't know it until you know it. And that situation, you may enjoy that other person, but don't realize that you think you need them to make you the better person for yourself. Like you
Right.
may be an introvert and they're very extroverted.
Right.
And like that's what's missing. I like having fun, but that's not me seeking it. So you seek what you don't have in your life
Right.
or you think that's
Right.
missing.
And
But
that's cool too. That's okay.
yeah, I mean they can complement each other, but
Exactly.
that can't be the
Opposites
source
attract.
of everything. You
Right,
need to be.
absolutely. You can't expect it. That's the zero expectation. The person is there to love you, accept you, but they're not there to, you have to go and work on your own self to make yourself happy. If you don't take the time to, take care of your fitness, you're not going to feel healthy. Or if you don't take time for your expression of your creativity, you won't feel, you won't be feeling fulfilled there. So
Mm.
on. That person can't do it. Only you can do it for yourself.
So this one's interesting. Guidelines for healthier relationships. Recognize that people who irritate you provide you with an opportunity to grow. When someone bothers you, this signals a button has been pushed and childhood pain has been triggered. Whoa.
Perfect, because it's just relates to just what we were just talking about with couples. 7.5 have brought in this pain, childhood. Everyone's had it, but I'm saying that it'll be a big part of a marital or couples is to focus on those triggers that get the buttons, because only people that are really close to you can actually push your buttons as well as, you know what I'm saying, because you're interacting with them at a more intimate level. And so that relationship can be the key to healing, to figuring out, oh, what there is a button there is a wound there. And then the therapy can lead into healing that wound. And if you're in a good relationship where you're caring to each other, the other person's going to be able to talk to you and hear what happened. Maybe you never shared something from your childhood that was a major wound. But if you're in a good, caring relationship, then that person can also give you hugs and let you cry about it after you talked about it in therapy, and be part of the support for your healing.
So let's talk about that. We're almost out of time, but I want to put the microscope on that.
Sure.
When people trigger you and they bother you, they irritate you. I
Right.
don't know what it is, but that's really something that goes back to your childhood, typically and that is why it's bothering you.
Absolutely. So
Wow.
generally, like in a couples therapy, if you feel like you're, upset with the other person, it's best to go away and identify anger, which is just a tip telling you something's bothering you. You ask yourself, am I feeling sad about this, feeling anxious about this? What am I feeling first? Then say, when did I feel this way before? Bring up the associations. Like if someone, did something at this moment, maybe it's not as important as you think. Maybe it's just triggering what the pain that you experience, and it kind of symbolizes, represents, all this pain from something happening as a child. And
Mm.
so you can then go away and go, wow, I really feel like I wasn't very cared for in that way. And when this person did this, that's how I took it. That's why I got so mad. And when I went deeper, I realized, well, they didn't maybe, mean it that way. And it's not, but it represented or triggered that wound of how they were treated as a child.
Wow. That's really something to think about. Like think
Yes.
about all those people
Yes.
that kind of tick you off, and you really got to go deep to try and figure that out. And interestingly,
Absolutely.
to end today, I think I shared with you in a men's group, and we mass
Yes.
down, we do community
Wonderful.
service and a lot. But there was an exercise a few weeks ago where 10 of us in the room, we had to go around and say what we like and don't like about each person.
Uh-huh.
Very uncomfortable.
Ooh, yeah.
But at the end, after everybody went, it was revealed that the things that you're pointing out about them that you're not crazy about
Uh-huh.
is you.
Is your own stuff, right? That you projected onto them. Exactly.
Yeah. So
It's true. And that's when you can take that in and you can work on that. And you can say, well, how am I like that? I didn't like that in him. And it's really me. So what do I do that's like that? And let me work on that and forgive myself for that.
it's an eye opener.
It is. Yes.
We only got to a few of, I think it was 7 or 9 in that chapter.
Mhm.
The book is available. It's the manual for life. That's what I call it. And you can find out more if you're looking for any therapy, whether it's couples, individual. Anne is the best, and available virtually to psychologytoday.com. Best way to find you?
Yes, that'd be great.
Yeah, just do a search, Dr. Anne Creekmore. Thank you for being here today. This is definitely an eye-opener.
Yes,
Sure.
well, thank you, Steve, for all your sharing.
We'll catch up soon.
Helping us all.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.